Hi everybody, welcome to episode 2 of my classic car series here on YouTube. So I'm going to give you a chance to go with your gut instincts and value this car, 1973 E-Type V12 Roadster. We know exactly how much it's worth because it's just been sold through Silverstone Auctions, and it had an estimate of £50,000 to £60,000. But how much do you think that car really sold for? Well, in a moment I'm going to give you 3 price options to help you, but before that I'm going to give you some background information, a little bit on the E-Type that maybe you didn't know, and then a bit of information on that car itself, and then you get 15 seconds thinking time to come up with your valuation on that car. Let's see how good you are. Don't forget, let me know what you're thinking. Leave some comments down below. I mean, seriously, just take a look at that car. No wonder it was described by Enzo Ferrari as the most beautiful car on the planet when it was introduced in 1961. It was also beautifully cheap. It was half the price of a Ferrari or any other exotic near it. So it was a cheap car. It cost just over £2,000, which equates to around £38,000 new today. Imagine buying something like that brand new for 38 grand today. That really would seriously be a cheap car. And it was also beautiful because it was as quick as anything else on the market. 0 to 60 in 6.9 seconds. That's fast in 1961, and they reckon it topped out at 150 miles an hour. So I'm helping you here to get the right valuation. Here's a bit of a curveball. The most expensive E-Type ever sold to date was $7.3 million. That happened in Florida pretty recently. I mean, admittedly, that was a very special car, but you get the idea. E-Type Jaguars are highly regarded. But let's go back to this car in particular. Well, there she sits very prettily in white with wire wheels and black leather. And I think the V12 from this period, 1973, just looks so much better as a roadster. I think the coupe got a bit too fat, big back end. It was very bulbous, but it just looks so sleek from all angles. I mean, just look at that body. That, to me, is the perfect roadster, and I think in white it suits it because it makes it look bigger. When you stand next to these cars today in the modern world, they look very small compared to modern cars. But what about running a V12 E-Type? Well, do you know what? Maintenance isn't that bad if you keep on top of them, and if a problem arises, and you know what it is, it's not the end of the world. Parts are accessible, they're not expensive. The problem comes when you don't know what the problem is. Take a look at that engine compartment. I mean, it is positively bulging with stuff. Big carburetors, bolt-ons, wires, electrical cables, malarkeys all over the place. And the tiniest problem with any one of those components can switch that car off, and the problem is it can take you days to find what the problem is. So they need to be very well maintained. And I've got to tell you, this one has been maintained. Great history. It's been in one ownership for the last 30 years. That's a really good sign to any prospective buyer. So this will help you put a price on this car. We all want to buy cars that have just come out of long-term ownership. So she's sweet and well looked after, and it makes a big difference with these things. And I've had experience with V12 Roadsters just like this. Not very long ago I filmed a series called A Celebrity Antiques Road Trip, where I was with Jody Kidd and James Martin, both big petrol heads, those two, and we had a pair of V12 Roadsters, one in white, one in red, both pretty identical, apart from the fact that one drove exceptionally well, tight, powerful, responsive, felt safe and secure on the road. That car quite obviously had been well maintained. The other one was loose, baggy, rattly, and just felt like you were driving on ice. That one was not very well maintained at all. So maintenance is everything. So to get your valuation, this one comes with a good history file. She's looking sweet, and she is as good as she looks in the photos. And I've known these cars all my life. In the family, we had a Primrose Yellow V12 Coupe from 1973. So I've got to tell you the V12s are my favourite. Not just because it takes me back to childhood, but because they are the cheapest on the market. The purists don't love the V12s like they love the 3.8s and the 4.2s. So purely in the financial sense, I think this is the best E-Type in the world. And the V12 would do 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds and around 12 to 15 miles to the gallon if you were lucky. But how much is this one really worth? So remember, 50 to 60,000 pounds estimate. You can see it's left-hand drive. You know, does that bother you? Well, I don't know. It's going to be a little less in the UK than it would be as a right-hand drive. But, you know, the market is there. The European market is still strong for British classic cars. And, of course, then you've got the wealthy buyers that might have a lovely villa in the south of France and want to take this thing down there. So don't worry about the left-hand drive. Just think of its condition, 95,000 miles, full history, one owner for 30 years. All of that is just such good news. So now it is over to you. Remember, estimate 50 to 60,000 pounds. I'm going to give you three options. Did that E-Type V12 Roadster from 1973 sell for A, £35,000, B, £46,000, or C, £66,000. Remember, there's 12.5% commission on top of the hammer price. But now it's over to you. Here come 15 seconds thinking time to come up with the right valuation.
My existence and nothing you could give us could put it out. And I lost those old sad cemented boots.
And I'm back. Well, let me reveal that this 73 Jaguar E-Type V12 Roadster has just been sold in auction for £46,000. So if you got that right, give yourself a pat on the back, give yourself a point, and don't forget, make some comments. Let me know how well or badly you've done in valuing this E-Type. Also give me some suggestions on what kind of cars you'd like me to feature in the future. But before you go, let me leave you with this thought. Consider this. The Jaguar E-Type was never expensive when new. Remember, in 1961, that cost the equivalent of £38,000. And even today, at £46,000 for a classic supercar, I still think that, particularly the V12, is great value for money. So listen, thanks for joining me every Thursday night here on YouTube at 6:30 UK time. I'll upload a brand new classic car themed video, so come back and see me. So until then, I'm David Harper. Cheerio.